All right, Madeline, thank you. Well, this week is National Eating Disorder Awareness Week, highlighting a subject many people have a lot of misconceptions about. According to the National Eating Disorder Association, 30 million Americans will suffer with a disorder in their lifetime. Less than 6% of people with an eating disorder are medically underweight, and every 52 minutes, a person dies as a direct result of an eating disorder. Well, joining me now, we have Heather Williams with Community Counseling Center. And what are some of the misconceptions that people have about eating disorders?
I think one of the biggest ones is that people believe that the individuals with an eating disorder have a certain look. And that could be farthest from the truth. An eating disorder can impact anyone. It doesn't matter if you're male, female, what size you are at all. Anyone can struggle with the eating disorder at any time in their lives.
So is there like a spectrum for eating disorders in a way? You know, there's the extremes where you see the people who are almost skeletal, they're so thin,
Yes, ma'am.
you know, or extremely overweight, but people who are normal size can also suffer from an eating disorder?
Yes, ma'am, I think so. I think maybe not a full eating disorder, but something, again, sometimes it looks very differently for other people. So I don't want to say that, yes, like people with typical body styles will not have an eating disorder. And eating disorders can kind of be on a continuum too. So maybe it's disordered eating where it hasn't gotten to the point of a diagnosable eating disorder yet, but maybe there's some unhealthy thoughts or behaviors associated with food. And so being able to kind of recognize that and recognize that there are ways to get help for that or ways to screen for that can help kind of catch it before it becomes more difficult to manage.
Sure. Okay. What should people look for in their loved ones? You know, sometimes an outside perspective can help people get help. Are there certain things that you would suggest, like parents look for in their teenagers?
I think if you're concerned about someone or you're looking out for things like that, maybe just a preoccupation with food, being able to look and see, like, is this person talking about food a lot? Is there an obsession about it? Are they, are they losing weight? Are they gaining weight quickly? What are their thoughts and feelings associated with food? Are all good kind of indicators to open up and have a conversation about. The website that you guys showed earlier, there actually have screening tools. So if you're concerned about someone or maybe you're struggling a little bit and like, wow, like, how are my thoughts around food, and is this something that maybe I'm having some difficulty with, then you can fill out one of those screening things too, and it kind of helps to determine if there may be cause for concern about an eating disorder.
So are there certain things, thoughts, like when you talk about like suicide or something, there's that ideation. Is there something like that equivalent to food that you hear from patients that you treat?
I think it could just be that obsession with it, or like the control surrounding it, or different kind of thoughts in general, how they view themselves. So a lot of people who experience eating disorders may have some body dysmorphia, and so they literally view their bodies and view themselves very differently than the rest of the world views them. And so if you hear someone kind of talking about that and kind of explaining those things, then maybe having an honest conversation and saying, hey, like, I just learned about this and I want to listen to kind of what's going on and be able to help you.
Okay. Now, is it difficult, like as women, we're typically more hard on ourselves than anyone else. And we're like, oh, I've gained 10 pounds or, oh, blah, I look terrible in a swimsuit or, any of the things that we tell ourselves. Is there a difference between that normal kind of, feeling not your best versus an eating disorder, taking it that further?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I think so, because I think that we're all human and we're going to have days where we feel like we're like, yes, girl, like I look great today. And then we're going to have other days it's like, oh, I'm on the news and loving this, and I think that that's all going to be kind of part of our typical normal reaction to ourselves and our bodies. Mm-hmm. But yes, I think that having those conversations with ourselves and our friends, if we notice like where it seems like it's a little bit more than that, it's a little bit more of the control or the obsession, and that's all it's talked about and things like that. Or if you notice some of those incongruent statements where like, no, I think you look great, I think you look really healthy, and then they're focused on different things, then maybe just having those conversations. Because worst case scenario, you have the conversations and then they know that you're there for them and you care for them.
Okay. And there's help in what you do too.
Yes,
Available.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Eating disorders can be treated in numerous different ways. We have numerous counselors at Community Counseling Center that can help someone. You can also go to that website that you showed, and they can help get different resources in different areas. So even if you're not just in the Heartland, there are different resources across the board there too.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
time, and we want to check back in with Matt.